We did it. We did it.
Oh my god.
The worst video on the channel, done. So not too long ago, I made a video titled Good Anime We Can't Watch in Public, which was essentially me talking about studio grade for 10 minutes. It was a great time. And it was also a great time to get the video demonetized. Yay. You know what, I felt really bad about that. Everyone works hard here, and to see all that effort get stifled because I didn't change the way I worded things, kind of sucks, and I'll be sure to do better. But not this time. No, I'm not gonna change the way I word things at all this time. Instead, I'm gonna try and swerve demonetization a little bit because you can't censor me if I censor myself, right? Yeah. So for today, when I say these words, which hopefully are also censored because YouTube's smart, we're gonna replace them with anime sound effects. All right, let me just see if this works. All right, we're good. I just recorded that and it made me want to die. So grab some popcorn, don't leave your house, and be sure to lock your producer outside the studio so you can't get fired. Let's talk about some more anime you can't watch in public.
Let me in.
Konosuba is about my boy Kazuma Sato, who dies. Which, in the new rule of anime, the main protagonist can either never die, or they have to die within the first 5 minutes, only to then be transported to a magical world. And this is no different for Kazuma, except, again, in pretty typical isekai fashion, he gets to bring one item over with him to the new world. And he chooses the goddess who gave him the option. They're both pretty bad people, and in no time make a pretty functional, dysfunctional group of misfits who, again, are pretty bad people. It's full of great bits and gags, and their character dynamics lead to some funny and impactful moments in the show. You know a but's coming though, because I'm talking about this in a video titled Anime You Can't Watch in Public. So, like the time Megumin did this, or any scene with Darkness who is a masochist. Literally any scene, any scene. There's one part on the show where Kazuma learns the thief spell, and upon using it, just steals a girl's panties. He seems pretty happy about that. He's basically Oolong from Dragon Ball, but somehow more of a pig. Or you can take the entire OVA episode, which is funny, but also very objectifying. Basically, Kazuma purchases a choker that supposedly grants wishes and places it on his neck. Sounds great, except, you know, now he might die. So apparently the choker will strangle him to death in 4 days if he doesn't fulfill the wish he subconsciously made when he put it on in the first place, which he doesn't know. That's how the subconscious works. And because they don't want Kazuma to stay dead this time, since people in this world can get resurrected, and he doesn't want to get resurrected again. There's a lot to explain, all right? The girls pretty much do whatever he likes for those 4 days in an anime. Obviously, this isn't going to be good. And let's just say it leads to some, we're definitely not gonna make any money this episode, questionable scenes. Like when Kazuma shakes his, you know, in Megumin's face.
Does that happen?
Yes, OVA. Or because we're all about equal opportunity harassment, he gets a stream of water spouted up his, yeah, much to his pleasure. I'll give it this, Konosuba really knows how to pair their fan service with comedy really well. So although it is shameless, it makes me laugh. And those are two traits I usually try to look for in a show. So speaking of traits I really like, everything with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which we're talking about next on this list of anime you can't watch in public. Because who doesn't love watching a man crush another man with a road roller on your 9 a.m. commute? So JoJo's follows the JoJos and his Jo Bros on what Jo goes down throughout each of their lives on the Jo Low. And despite its cult following, the Jo Show can get a little yikes at times without anyone noticing. Jo. A lot of odd and weird things happen in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. One could say the show is strange. Gotcha.
No.
Now, unlike most shows I've listed before, JoJo's isn't usually the type of show to get sexual. Yay. So most of the time it's focused on fighting, commenting on other people fighting, and fighting with your hands in your pockets. But when the show does get sexual, it gets very, very bad. Nice. For example, like in part 3, our protagonists are trying to hunt down a certain stand user who can make things magnetized, which we know because they have been magnetized together in a very uncomfortable looking state. But more on that later. Anyways, they have the user trapped, but because anime, the users just start getting larger at a very uncomfortable rate. I don't remember this episode of Attack on Titan. Turns out I wasn't watching Attack on Titan, but also in the scene, like, it's just because she had metal in her chest and it was getting magnetized and it was just going towards them. Dear God. Also, remember a second ago before the magnetized breasts where I said the protagonists were stuck together? Well, prior to that whole incident, there definitely was some unflattering moments. Just two bros hanging out, committing indecent acts in public. Also, quick side note, don't Google Rule 34, Avdol and Joseph. Bad idea that I did. There's even a part where a grown man, Polnareff, gets turned into a baby and high-key assaults a woman. Granted, he's a baby, but I feel like that doesn't help anything because he's also a grown man. And based off these examples, you'd figure it's fine. This stuff is spread out through the whole series. No, of course it's not. This all happened over the same 3-episode stretch. And I didn't even talk about the cherry scene or the sweat licking scene between Giorno and Bucciarati. Also, don't Google Rule 34 Giorno and Bucciarati. Another bad idea. I didn't do that one actually because I learned from my mistake the first time. But something I appreciate about JoJo's is that even when it's not being sexual, there's still a lot of questionable things happening on the show, which is pretty refreshing to see on this list. Maybe like how there's an entire arc about a guy who wants to hands, or the part where the protagonist literally drinks pee. Or we could talk about the deceptively likable.
No.
I can't just show him?
No.
Can I at least show the asset because that's how you know how actually messed up this is.
Okay, fine.
This guy right here is one of my favorite characters from part 2, and I'm 80% sure that's a war crime. Imagine someone watching you watch JoJo's and you're smiling at a soldier saying, "German science is the greatest in the world." Not saying that from prior experience. Mostly. Next up, everyone thought I forgot this one last time, but in reality, I was just too scared to put people climaxing because they ate properly cooked chicken for the first time on YouTube. So let's talk about Food Wars. Food Wars is about Soma Yukihira, a young chef who goes to a special academy where students go and train to see who can make people come the hardest from eating a quiche. And that sounds like a joke, but I've covered 80% of the show's premise with that statement, so. At the academy, Soma and the gang cook dishes and compete against each other in these very dramatic, over-the-top ways. And it's great. They had a tournament arc. Food and tournament arcs are like my two favorite things. It's a great show. And the O faces aside, the real sexiest thing about the show is the food. Real talk, JC staff, you killed this, man. Yes, this is cool, but have you ever looked at this shot of fake pork roast? Like, okay, if I were to reach climax doing anything, it would be probably looking at this image. I totally understand. But real talk, the appeal of the show, aside from the chronic, literal foodgasms, is getting to see Soma train and rise to the top with his classmates. It's literally like food-flavored shonen. Think Goku with an apron. They're always improving and battling, and it's a lot of fun to just kick back and watch all the action unfold. All the characters are quirky, and getting to see them all interact really is fun. Kind of makes you want to be a part of the whole world. I mean, it would be pretty wild that every time you wanted to eat food, you'd have to go to the bathroom to clean up before and after dinner. It was great anime, but don't watch in public. Literally food, but good food. And while you're on incognito mode watching your food, might as well do it on High Dive, which has Food Wars subbed and exclusively dubbed. It also has a lot of other great anime that we talked about on this series, like Domestic Girlfriend and High School of the Dead. And you can get a 30-day free trial of High Dive by clicking the link in the description. And once you do that, I might have a little gift for you. So our peeps over at High Dive hooked us up with the Food Wars Season 1 complete box set. And since they said I'm not allowed to keep it, we figured we'd give it away. All you gotta do to be entered to win is head on over to our Instagram and tell us what your favorite anime on High Dive is with the hashtag something that I haven't thought of yet. We're gonna put it here. I probably should have thought of that earlier. It's something we've always wanted to do, and checking them out would really help support the channel. Anyways, more questionable anime. So one of the animes I listed in the previous episode was Kill la Kill, a dope anime with a dope premise and a lot of dope characters that were also naked. Now, the way I see it, the author didn't just, start doing the whole scantily clad thing. That's not something you just come out the gate doing. You gotta dip your toe in the proverbial naked water. I get it. And that first pinky toe was Gurren Lagann. Now, like I said, GL is not nearly as bad as Kill la Kill. Not nearly as bad, put some clothes on young children. But there are just the right number of half-naked minors in this show to make it something you probably don't want to watch in public. That number being 1, if you didn't know. Anyways, Gurren Lagann is about Simone and Kamina, residents of an underground world being ruled by the Spiral King. Simone is granted the power of the key that doubles down as a super mega fighting robot drill. The show's got a lot of heart, great music, great aesthetic, but maybe just a dash too many half-naked peeps. For one of my first online waifus, Yoko, who gets a lot of glamour shots throughout season 1. Yoko gets fairly sexualized by the crew and the show itself plenty of times, which is all fun and games until you learn she's 14. Oh boy. And I know there's a debate online about if she's really 14 because it's a different world, or what the author said in an interview, she might be Kamina's age. But why even risk it? She's maybe 14. Let's just look at other people, maybe. I don't know. This is me. What I know. Also, this might be cheating, but I had to talk about it because it definitely threw me off. In the Gurren Lagann movie, which I know wasn't the anime, but I gotta talk about this. Close to the end, during the final battle, Simone and Nia are attempting to take down their final foe. And of course, in shonen, when you're fighting, if you aren't losing clothes, you aren't getting any stronger. That's just how anime works. Word to Piccolo and Goku, but they get naked. Like, completely naked. Like, we see it all naked. Imagine fighting a galaxy-level villain and then your underwear just vanishes off your body, but it's making you stronger, so you just go with it. But I don't know, it's weird to see anime characters who once were not of age, then become of age, like this, naked on screen. I don't know. I mean, the power of nudity aside, it is a fantastic show, and you should definitely watch it, but not with people around. Next up, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Okay, basic premise of the show. Guy in modern day Japan gets stabbed and dies trying to protect his coworker / friend. And well, he gets reincarnated as a slime. Like, I really didn't need to explain that one. And then, as a slime, he goes on his isekai adventures, meeting all sorts of fantasy creatures. Pretty safe stuff so far, nothing wild or anything yet, which is surprising for an anime about a slime that's on this list. We all know what direction that could have gone. Thank God it didn't. But in reality, the show is pretty wholesome. Well, wholesome with like a little anime asterisk on it. And by that I mean the fan servicey scene with the ogres only happens a small handful of times, and then there's that bar scene with the... Okay, wholesome might be a bit of a stretch, but it's a good show that's just kinda what you'd expect out of anime. Like, you could risk watching this out in public because the to plot ratio was still at a working minimal. Keyword was, this might be a personal gripe, but halfway through the show, it decides to introduce Milim. So what I'm gonna want you to do is go to Google, search up Milim Nava, and if you don't see something not okay for the workplace, you win. Tag us on Twitter, let us know. Definitely lost.
No!
Yeah.
Why did I do this?
Now, in the lore of Slime, Milim is an ancient demon lord that comes out to help the protagonist about midway through the show. But upon looking at her and some of her first interactions in the show, I no longer felt morally okay whenever she was in the frame. I mean, look at her. Look, she's a walking not safe for work tag. How'd the rating of a show change because of one character's screen time? I don't really know if the rating of the show would change, but I feel like it should, because her very existence made watching this impossible without getting stares. But if you're willing to make peace with the technicalities that say she's not a child, go for it. Good show. Don't watch in public, but go for it. You're still in for a fairly good time with the Slime anime. Hey, remember Eromanga Sensei, the show I mentioned in the first video? Well, let's take a trip a few years back and look at the author's first anime adaptation, Oreimo. Or in English, My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute. Fuck. You can already tell this is gonna be bad. Context time. Kyosuke, our main protagonist, has a little sister named Kirino. You remember Masamune and Sagari from Eromanga? Well, these two are basically them, except with one tiny, minor, insignificant detail. They're blood related.
You're my sister.
Only by blood.
Oh, God. What is wrong with this family?
This is fine, right? You know, they're blood related, so what? It's not like the author is gonna write in some questionable scenes. No. He does. Every time Kirino and Kyosuke interact, the show goes low-key creeper mode, and every questionable angle imaginable is implemented. But that's not even the worst part, you know, getting a weird angle when you're talking to your sister. Apparently, Kirino is in love with eroge, or erotic games, and teaches Kyosuke how to play them. What a nice, nice sibling. So whenever they're together, not only are there questionable camera angles, but also questionable content in general. You know, with them playing erotic games and all. And what's even crazier about these erotic games is that Kirino only buys them because she likes little sister arcs. Little sister arcs. You see where this is going. Now I'm about to spoil parts of the true ending in a few seconds, so if y'all don't want to be spoiled, feel free to skip here. That being said, why? Okay, they're full-on brother and sister in special clothing. Why? It's a long kiss. Oh my God, stop! Stop it, stop. Why are you still looking at each other? You guys made me talk about this. I'm not happy. But looking past the creepy cis-con bro-con exterior, the anime is about two siblings fixing a broken family relationship. It's a garbage premise wrapped in some pretty good storytelling, and that makes me sad. And I'm really upset because unfortunately, I kind of wanted them to be together. Okay, look, listen, it's just story arc. That's the story. That's the way the story arc was going. So, yeah, I could keep going, and someday I might. Part 3. If you want a part 3, put it in the comments, because they're probably not gonna let me do any more of these videos after what I just did a second ago. But until I find a sponsorship that's down with me talking about everything I just talked about, I'm gonna have to close the book on anime you can't watch in public part 2. So make sure to subscribe so you can know when a part 3 is coming. I'm Kurt, thanks for watching GetintheRobot, made in NYC because we can't move to Japan. I never thought that this would be the thing that I'd be doing with my life.